my beautiful book besties, and welcome to the first fall video of 2024. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv if you're new here, and if this is your first video watching, I am so excited for you because this is my first fall video, and fall is my favorite season to create content. I feel like summertime is a little bit slower, but in fall I thrive with creating content. As you can tell, I already put my leaves and my bats up. We are ready to go, and I know some of you out there are probably like, Liv, it is way too early, but guess what? I am here to share with you some very fun releases. I actually have 30 titles that are coming out between August, September, October, and even a couple in November. So I'm here to help you guys prep for fall. Even if you are not completely ready for fall yet, I totally understand, but hopefully you will find this video useful because there are so many good books coming out this fall. I am literally going to go broke. And there's a lot that keep popping up that I've never heard of, and I had to limit my list to 30 books like I said. Otherwise, I mean, we would be here literally all day. So without further rambling, go ahead and get your notepad and your pen or pencil ready, get a drink, and settle in for a long video because I am going to try to keep this as short as possible, and hopefully I will have all of these books listed in my description, which will also help you, but I do hope you stick around and watch this whole video because this video does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of editing, and it takes a while to film. So hopefully that's useful, but I hope you stick around for the full video. I'm actually done rambling now, so let's go ahead and get into it. One book that I have not seen a lot of people talk about, which is interesting because I feel like she's a pretty popular young adult mystery thriller writer, and that is Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. I read Truly Devious years ago, and I never continued this series. This book sounds super intriguing, and it sounds like a great transitional fall book. It says it's about a teen who uncovers a mystery while working as a tour guide on an island and must solve it before history repeats itself. I love this cover. It looks vintage but scary. There's like a castle and someone falling in the background. I do know there's going to be a mansion, which I love that kind of atmosphere, but I feel like a lot of us are going to be looking forward to this one. Next, we have Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. If you've been around here long enough, you know that A Study in Drowning made my top 3 favorite books from last year, and I am so stoked that we're getting another book from her so soon. I don't know if you guys have seen the naked cover of this book, but it's hot pink. It has a black skull, and it is just beautiful. This is her own reimagining, not retelling of Lady Macbeth, so definitely don't get those two confused because I've heard this one is very different. I am very excited, not only because it's my favorite Shakespeare, but because it's Ava Reid. The next book I very happily have in my hands here with me called I Need You to Read This by Jessa Maxwell. She wrote The Golden Spoon last year, and that one got a lot of hype. I've heard she's more of like a cozy type of mystery author, and this one sounds very intriguing. On the top here from the Washington Post, it says super creepy, so I'm hoping this will also be a great transitional fall thriller. The next book I feel like it does not need an introduction whatsoever. We have Wisteria coming by Adalyn. I absolutely loved Belladonna. I'm planning to read Foxglove this month, and this is the 3rd and final book in the trilogy. I just know some things are going to go down. I know it's going to be creepy. It's going to be so good. She writes the best gothic atmosphere, and the mystery and the romance is absolutely top notch. I feel like I'm actually reading an adult book because it's just so mature, and I don't know, there's something about her writing that is so incredible, so I feel like a lot of us are also going to be reading this one in August. The next book is one from an author that I am dying to get more into. We have A Sorceress That Comes to Call by Kingfisher. This was also offered as a Book of the Month choice, so if you're interested, you can get it on Book of the Month. I actually was not aware that this one was like a witchy fantasy until recently, which honestly makes me more excited. Again, we have a perfect transitional fall book coming in August, and Kingfisher is the queen of cozy but creepy fantasy. This one is a dark retelling of the Brothers Grimm's Goose Girl. Rife with secrets, murder, and forbidden magic, Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms, and her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend. Cordelia's mom is a sorceress, and we will just see what happens and how the story story unfolds from there. Next, we have the perfect fall romance. I can feel it in my bones. This is just going to be the #1 autumn romance I feel like people are going to be reading, mainly because of the cover. Also, this takes place, but somewhere in the synopsis it said Blue Ridge Mountains, which is very close to where I live. Not only that, but our main character is a professor. She's a history professor. I do know that the male that comes into the picture is also like a new professor, and he reminds her of one of like her exes or something. I don't even know, but I hope that this is going to be everything that we hope and dream. Next, we have another romance called Haunted Ever After by DeLuca. I have actually never read anything by this author, but I think she has the book called Well Met or something of the sort. This is a brand new series for her, and obviously it looks like the perfect fall vibe. Our main male lead is actually a ghost tour guide in this small town, and she comes, I believe, as a tourist, and I don't know what else happens, but it just sounds like we're gonna get more of like an interesting plot rather than just like the spicy scenes, which I feel like the vibes of this book are just gonna be perfect for fall. Like, all of these books are gonna be great for fall, but this one specifically, the colors and the vibe, a ghost tour guide, like, I mean, come on. Next, going into September's releases, we are kicking it off with a very strong start by Emily Lloyd Jones. We have The Wild Huntress coming. Emily Lloyd Jones is one of the most underrated fantasy YA writers I have ever read from. I absolutely adore The Bone Houses. I still haven't read The Drowned Woods, but apparently this book also takes place in this same world as those two books. This one says it is perfect for fans of Holly Black and Erin A. Craig. This one has a deadly competition, and honestly, that's all I needed to know. Like, the vibes of this cover scream fall, forest, Hunger Games, like, this is just going to be absolutely incredible. Speaking of Erin A. Craig, we have The 13th Child coming out by Erin A. Craig, and I literally cannot wait to get my hands on this. I'm gonna tell you right now though, I don't know anything about it. You're gonna have to do your own research, because I don't even know if I've technically read the synopsis of this book. I probably did when it first was announced. I'm going to this one completely blind. It takes more of like a horror route, clearly from the cover, and I need my hands on this book right now. It's going to be perfect for fall. I know so many of us are going to be reading it. Again, don't even care, don't even know what it's about, but I'm getting my hands on it the day it comes out. Next, we have a book that isn't necessarily so much fall, but it's from a well-known, loved author that I think a lot of us like. We are getting a new Matt Haig book called The Life Impossible. When retired math teacher Grace Winters is left a rundown house on a Mediterranean island by a long-lost friend, curiosity gets the better of her. She arrives in Ibiza with a one-way ticket, no guidebook, and no plan. Among the rugged hills and golden beaches of the island, Grace searches for answers about her friend's life and how it ended. If you guys have read Matt Haig before, you know this is going to be a very hard-hitting, possibly even tear-jerking story, and I'm just excited to get back into his books. His humor is great. I've loved almost everything he's written, and I feel like a lot of us are going to be looking forward to this one as well. The next book I think is definitely not only my most anticipated this fall, but also it has a big chance of being one of my favorites of the year. That is A Witch's Guide to Magical Inkeeping by Sangu Mandanna. She also wrote The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and look at this cover. It is so cute. I cannot stop gushing about this book. An enchanting novel about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and life back on track. Sarah Swan was once one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead, lost most of her magic, befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, and was exiled from her magical guild. A witch and a talking fox. I mean, come on. It looks like it takes place at a cottage. If I don't get to this in September, I'm definitely going to be reading this in November. Next, we have Lucy Undying by Kiersten White, and Kiersten White and I definitely have a love-hate relationship. I don't actually know if I've liked anything or given anything more than 3 stars that she's written, but this one is like a Dracula retelling of some sort, and let me tell you, the cover creeps me out to no end. In this epic and seductive gothic fantasy, a vampire escapes the thrall of Dracula and embarks on her own search for self-discovery and true love. Right there, perfect for fall. Vampires, yes, 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 yes. Next, we have Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I love love, love House in the Cerulean Sea. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's so sweet, it's so wholesome, it's so funny. I love all the orphanage kids, and this one is the sequel to that, so I feel like I might have to read House in the Cerulean Sea again. We'll just see. But I feel like a lot of people are also excited for this one. It's also coming out with sprayed edges, which is even more fun. I feel like TJ Klune is loved by basically everyone. His writing is so fluffy and his books are full of emotions and just make you feel good, and I have no doubt this one is going to be just as good as the first one. Next we have Nightmare of a Trip by Maureen Kilmer. I read Suburban Hell when it first released, and she also came out with Hex Education last year, and I love that she's coming out with a spooky book every single year. I'm hoping to read Hex Education and this one, so that way I just have a new book from her to look forward to every year. But this one is like a spooky take on National Lampoon, which I think is going to be a very fun and wild ride. Apparently this family decides to take a road trip. They come across a half-burned farmhouse in Indiana, and they also come across some type of like creepy amusement park. If she includes any of the humor that she included in Suburban Hell, you know this book is going to be a good time. We have Casket Case by Lauren Evans. I have not read from this author before. It is supposed to not necessarily be a rom-com, but it is a romance book. This is about our main character who goes back to the small town where she grew up, and she decides to work at her family's casket business, which honestly sounds like dead romantics if you ask me. There's this guy that comes in and she ends up kind of having feelings for him, but then people in the town start dying off, which is very interesting, and apparently he is found on the scene of all of their deaths. So we have a little bit of mystery, we have a little intrigue, which you guys know I love in my romance. Next we have a little bit of a fun, cozy fantasy that you might or definitely want to add after you hear me say The Princess Bride meets People We Meet on Vacation. It's called This Will Be Fun by E.B. Asher, a author I've never heard of. All I heard was those two books, two things I love that are going to be a great combination. It is a cozy fantasy that you definitely don't want to miss adding to your fall TBR. Our couple, I believe, is called from the Queen to go on some type of quest together, and I believe they have some type of history or love or romance that sparked back in the day. I mean, this book just sounds perfect in my opinion. Next, we have one of my most anticipated, as well as some of y'all's most anticipated, because Alexis Henderson wrote An Academy for Liars. She also wrote The Year of the Witching, House of Hunger, and this is a dark academia gothic type of story that I know I'm just gonna eat up the day it comes out. I believe all of these characters have some type of special ability, but our main character finds out that her mentor had something to do with some dark, eerie, like mysterious thing that happened. There's some type of violent past that he has that intertwines them together, and I don't really know where the liar thing comes into play, but I'm definitely curious enough to find out, and I think this book is going to be non-stop action, and just the vibes and the atmosphere alone. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely feeling like I'm going to be going into this dark kind of gothic fantasy mood in the fall, and this book is going to definitely fit the bill. We also have the third Gilmore by Kelly Bishop. I cannot believe we're getting a book by her, a memoir. I am so excited about this. I don't care if it's fall or not. I'm going to be reading this, or listening to it rather, the day it comes out. I'm hoping she narrates it. I'm assuming she does, since Lauren Graham narrated her books, but for us Gilmore girls, this could not come out at the more perfect time. I feel like a lot of us rewatch Gilmore Girls in the fall specifically, and just to be able to get her perspective on some of the show and her life and the characters, I think this is just going to be such a great book. This next book is definitely amping up the creep factor a little bit. We have The Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. I was not a fan of If We Were Villains, I believe is what they wrote, but this one sounds so incredibly weird but unique, but also super creepy. I mean, first of all, look at the cover. We love the pastel green, but also with the creepy mushrooms. I don't know what's happening here, but this story is about a ragtag group of night shift workers who meet in the local cemetery to unearth the secrets lurking in an open grave. Okay, an open grave. I am equal parts terrified and very intrigued. We also have book 2 in the series by Jenna Levine. The first one was called My Vampire is a Roommate, I believe, but this one is called My Vampire Plus One, which is a continuation kind of this story, but it takes the secondary male character and makes him the main character in the second book, and I loved him in the first book, even more so than like the main characters. Her humor was incredible. Her depth to her story was also incredible. It honestly took me by surprise how much I loved her first book last year, so I will definitely be supporting her and reading the second book. Also, in case you can't tell by the cover, this is a rom-com series. Next, we have a young adult fantasy that just recently came to my attention called Immortal Dark, and this is one for all the vampire girlies out there. The Cruel Prince meets Ninth House in this dangerously romantic dark academia fantasy where a lost heiress must infiltrate an arcane society and live with the vampire she suspects killed her family and kidnapped her sister. Like, what in the actual world? There's so much happening and packed into just that first sentence. This book is going to be wild and dark and it's so much fun, and I absolutely cannot wait. I don't know why I didn't hear about this book until a couple days ago, but it's definitely going to be one that I'm adding to my immediate fall TBR. Next, getting into our October books, we are kicking it off with a bang. We have Air by Saba Tahir coming out. This one is one that a lot of us I know are anticipating. I actually have never read Ember in the Ashes, but it recently got a cover redesign, so I'm hoping to buy the whole series. Definitely not going to read it before this one comes out, but I am going to be purchasing this one. I don't know anything about this, like literally at all. I know we have an orphan, a king, I don't know, it was kind of sounding like Six of Crows-ish almost, but I could be completely off about that. I have avoided reading this synopsis, but just in case you need a reminder that she's finally coming out with another book. Next, we have a book coming out that I'm so excited because she is one of my new favorite mystery thriller authors of all time now. We have The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Basically, our main female lead has had a lot of trouble dating, and when she finds the perfect boyfriend, she's absolutely obsessed, only to find out she might be suspicious of him because there's a serial killer going around who dates the victims when they're gonna die before it actually happens, and she has this sneaking suspicion that he might have something to do with it. I have high hopes for this one. Frida McFadden is just so easy and bingeable to read. I feel like a lot of us are going to be picking this one up. I could not pass up the opportunity to mention that we are getting a Hunger Games Illustrated edition, you guys. I actually freaked the heck out. I already have this on pre-order. I think you can get it on Amazon. It's also available at Barnes & Noble where I first saw it, but this has illustrations. They are all black and white, which isn't my favorite, but the cover alone is incredible. This is going to be the perfect gift or buy for yourself for any Hunger Games lover. We have the last one at the wedding. He wrote Hidden Pictures. I believe I blazed through that in 2020 or 2021. I read that in less than 24 hours, could not put it down. We have been anxiously awaiting him to write another book. I loved his first book. It was like 5 stars for me. I'm so excited we're getting another one. Don't even know what it's about, don't even care. I've got it on pre-order and I am so stoked for this one. Next, we have a book that very much reminds me of an encyclopedia of fairies. We have The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry. This book is going to be like the top cozy fantasy book that I read this fall. This author also wrote The Magician's Daughter, so she does already have some experience with writing fantasy. A mythic, magical tale full of secret scholarship, fairy curses, and the deadliest spells of all, the ones that friends cast on each other. What? I don't even care what the rest of the book is about. I just see that our main character's name is Clover, and that is the cutest name I've ever heard. I made the name alone. It is just absolutely adorable. I cannot wait, and this book is definitely going to be one you want to pick up because the early reviews are outrageously good. This next book, hold on to your seats, you guys, because even though I wasn't particularly a fan of Rachel Greenlaw's Christmas book she wrote last year, her new book is a cozy fantasy. This book is called The Woodsmoke Women's Book of Spells. Say that 5 times fast because you will probably get tongue-tied like I just did. I immediately fell under the spell of this artfully crafted world that I swore I was in a rundown cottage in the middle of the mountains, a perfect read for witch season. An evocative and and mysterious story about lost love and the magic of coming home for readers of Adrian Young and Brienne Randall. Are you kidding me? I literally don't need to know anything else. I mean, it takes place in the mountains in the town of Woodsmoke. I mean, right there, you guys, this is going to be such a delight to read, one that you don't want to miss adding to your cozy fantasy list this year. We also have another fantasy book by Stephanie Garber coming out called Spectacular, which I wasn't particularly excited about until I recently read Caraval and Legendary and absolutely fell in love with her creativity. This book takes place during the winter or the holidays and it comes after finale, so I think that is going to be an interesting take. It's just a little novella, which I think is going to be super fun. I very much enjoy her writing, and I think this one took a lot of people by surprise considering finale I think she finished a few years ago, possibly 4 or 5. This is coming out and I cannot wait for it. The next book we have coming out is a cozy mystery, a new start to a series by Olivia Black. She also wrote like a record shop mystery. This one is called A New Lease on Death, and it sounds so much fun. It is darkly funny supernatural mystery about an unlikely crime-solving duo that launches a commercial, unique, and gender-blending series. Death is only the beginning. Apparently, our main character lives in this apartment and her roommate is shot. Someone outside their apartment gets mugged and there's just some weird stuff happening, and she decides to, of course, take it upon herself to solve the mystery, but I think it has to do with some paranormal elements because we see a little ghost hand on the cover. So I'm very intrigued to see where this one goes. I feel like it's definitely going to stretch the boundaries of your typical cozy mystery, which I'm really looking forward to. Next, we have The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. She wrote The Dance of Thieves, which I still have yet to read. But when I tell you this cover and the sprayed edges, like, stop. This book is absolutely stunning. It says it is a thrilling romantic fantasy full of dangerous fae, dark secrets, and addictive romance. I believe our main character also lost both of her parents, and her sister struggled to stay afloat in their small, quiet town of Bowskeep. Definitely reminds me of ACOTAR, where we have the small town where the sisters start out, and then like some dark fae come along and some things happen, and I just think this book is going to take the internet by storm by the end of the year. I feel like she's a very popular author. She also wrote The Kiss of Deception. Even though I have not read anything else by her, I'm actually very much looking forward to this. Last but definitely not least, we're going to take a complete left turn here with a type of dystopian, potentially sci-fi book coming from none other than Marisha Pessl. We have not gotten a book from Marisha Pessl in a while. I used to be obsessed with Neverworld Wake. I kind of feel like that's what got me into the mystery thriller genre, and I feel like that book was just so atmospheric and so fun. It says, what would you kill for? When an ad for an internship with the Louisiana Vita Foundation poses this question, seemingly every high school student in the country rushes to apply. Arcadia Gannon has been obsessed with Louisiana Vita, a late game designer whose obsessive creations have attained a cult-like status. Ever since she and her mom played Disappearing Act, but Dia has never won anything in her life. So she's shocked when she's chosen as an intern along with 6 other teenagers from around the world. Little is actually known though about Louisiana Veda and her game-making empire called Darkly. There's just a lot of other interesting things that I think are going to happen in this book, and I'm very interested to see her take on like a video game element. I feel like we got that with Tomorrow Times 3. Even though I could not get into that book myself, maybe this will take a different direction for me and I will really enjoy it. Her writing is just really great, and if you haven't read Marisha Pessl before, this is definitely your chance. Whew, okay you guys, there's at least 30 new titles coming out in August, September, and October. Those last 2 I believe are just November releases, so you are definitely going to want to get your bank accounts ready, queue up your Libby app, all of that good stuff to get ready for these books coming. I feel like we're all going to be very busy bees and very busy readers this year because there is so much greatness coming out, especially from some authors that we've already read and loved before. So I hope you are just as excited as I am about some of these books. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you made it this far in the video, definitely leave me a spooky emoji. Actually, leave me like a bat emoji because we've got the bats up already. Thank you for always supporting my channel. I love you, and I'll see you in my next fall video called The Woodsmoke Women's Book of Smells. Book of Smells. This book is called the okay. This book is called... Why is it so funny to me? I cannot. This book is called The Woodsmoke Women's Book of Smell. I did it again!